BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, and let's get back into it with the Red Ranger Isekai review and breakdown for episode 5. We end off the last episode into the second half of chapter 4, where Red is about to get hurt when a smoke volleyball explodes into, smoke, saving them from Lug's wrath, and the leader of the resistance from last episode, Grossa, introduces the resistance setup outside of the monozone. Compared to the manga, most of the other members of the resistance have more detailed designs, which I always appreciate. Grossa rejects Lowji's choice to leave since, while some members of their town did, their love for their town motivates them to return back to their own home. And Red's flashback to her question about having a home includes him and a person going to another home with another family. That might be spoilers for a certain motivation that drives him, but his teammates are rocking similar poses to what they did in the manga, except Pink and everyone else is doing something different. Pink is doing a V sign, we can see Blue's eyes better, and Green's more of a muscle flexor than a saluter. Guess Yellow was the only one that remembered to do the pose in the anime adaptation. Jokes aside, we don't get an opening for very good reason, we'll talk about that later. But Lowji making fun of Red and Tetlina, calling him out, has a bit more detail, a lot more detail in the manga than the anime. Though in the anime, he actually apologizes for making fun of him. We get Red's idea of using his Megazord to help out stop Loulugart, but given the property damage, the more safer solution is for Red and Lowji to go man-to-man. And I agreed with this idea back then. Teleporters or high-speed fighters attacking one person is much harder to pull off when you have someone watching your back, or if you just know to punch behind golden feathers. If you are a Kamen Rider fan, I hope you appreciate that reference. But yeah, there's just one tiny little problem. Lowji and Red can't communicate, and most of what happens is animated enough to show you just how bad they are doing. Comey jokes I could make aside, Tetlina basically offers an air cleaning on her lap. That isn't changed from the manga one bit, but it's really funny the angles that the anime took to portray that. But we do get a bath scene later, which I'm not sure I can show on YouTube, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there. I had forgotten their ages, because in the manga, Yihdra asks Tetlina about her relationship with Lowji, while in the anime, she thinks out loud. They don't go into detail in either version because, you'll find out about that later. Unsure if the manga translated it, but Tetlina's 15 there while Yidra's 16. Personally, changing them both to be the same age honestly is more ideal, especially since Tetlina's confirming why she picked Yihdra, and the anime is basically just using their conversation to build larger images of the background of their flashbacks with them looking over their reports, the ones that she sends and the ones that Tetlina reads, but it adds to them having a genuine friendship born from wanting to help people out. Plus, it does feel more fitting that because they're the same age, they have similar mindsets, even if their personalities are a little bit different, their hearts are in the right place, which is why I end up appreciating this friendship a lot in both the manga, and I'm glad to see the anime adapted it fairly well. Also, yes, we have Tetlina shipping Red and Yihdra, which we love. While they're talking, the anime actually shows Lowji listening in a conversation far earlier than they do in the manga before he goes to walk. Well, as you'll see, not necessarily away. However, when Red and Tetlina are talking about why they're fighting, Tetlina treats it more casually in the anime than in the manga. In the manga, she's very secretive initially before confirming it. But both have her ask Red why her friendship lover fought by himself. Though it's still accurate in them both seeing themselves as a means to sacrifice themselves, but ultimately preferring not to die for the sake of their loved ones, and basically making a friendship and protection proclamation. I think the change to it being more friendly fits better in the way the conversation started, even if I prefer how the manga showed off how Tetlina was very intense and serious about this. Especially given that Red's choice of sacrificing himself is something he's going to have to deal with much later on. But it's still a decent change at worst. Nothing harmless or breaks the intention. Anyway, we get the Lowji spying shot as he goes to sabotage Red out of jealousy. But in the manga, we only hear the screams of Red and Yihdra in the bath, while here they actually show Red jumping in completely embarrassed. And yeah, you could hear their screams in the manga, but you actually see them screaming initially when they see each other, and while Lowji's talking in the background. If you actually hear that part in the episode, or if you go back and watch it, come back to this video and let me know if you see it, because I can't be the only one that noticed that. So yeah, they go to fight and Red gets whooped and thrown out of a window thanks to Lowji taking his blonde plate, which is more visually presented in the anime. Unfortunately, the anime cut out Lowji complaining Red admitted they had a plan, though, which was funny, but, you know, makes sense, time constraints. But now we transition in Chapter 5's footage with Red sinking into the ocean, or lake, and we get a surprise colored silk. Oh wait, that's spoilers. But wakes up thanks to Yihdra healing his body with magic, and implying that she definitely had to restart his breathing with her lips. But, you know, failed spectacularly in getting that message across. In the manga, she gets more, like, individual focus shots exclusively on her face before Red's confusion over her words. Lowji refutes Tetlina's rightful idea to regroup with their other duo. In the manga, Lowji ends using the Sacred Sword's 5th and 3rd forms, while in the anime, he actually starts with the 4th sword, Sloth Gnome, a stone sword representing sloth, then Glut Self representing wind and gluttony, then the 3rd form, Eveny, representing water and envy. No, I'm not going to hint at spoilers, but anyone else find it interesting that all of his swords are loosely named after the 7 deadly sins? Funny how it took me until now to actually notice that. Genuinely, I was surprised I didn't even notice it earlier. We get the 2 years ago flashback where Tet and Lowji met, and honestly, I have no notes. The music is perfect, Lowji's denial. The best change is that Lowji's face is more present in astoundment when Tetlina offers her support. If he's honest, then just confusion. The only thing I wish the anime did was have him blush after she hugs him, so you get a more facial description, or depression in this case, of why he fell in love with her. Again, I want you guys to tell me what you guys thought of Lowji before this episode and during this episode, because it does put a lot of his insecurities into a new light. Since I did see some people actively thinking that he was someone that you couldn't necessarily trust when I looked up online on other sources. Then again, if someone asks you to become their hero, wouldn't you do anything to prove it? Let me know. But Lowji activates Draglass. The manga shot is better as he burns all the golems, or whatever they're called. But sacrificing himself to protect his princess, yeah, I kind of told you guys his lack of care for others was going to cost him. Still, Tetlina's trust in their comrades prove right with Togo and Yiddra's overshade, plus the latter's barrier and healing magic buying them some time. Unfortunately, Lowji ignores him and reveals he took the bond plates, with Red thinking he wanted to transform, which honestly makes him more confused and angry, which, hey, that is a valid start to their relationship improving. But he admits he doesn't want her to replace him. And the anime gives you more visual cues on, you know, Yidra's cosplay of a person really just wanting the conversation to be over so we can get back to, you know, not having our magic be drained, to remind you why you shouldn't really be having long-winded conversations about your traumas and insecurities while people are trying to murder you. Plus, you do feel bad for Tet, since it also looks like she has someone she needs to save and take care of. And yeah, Red actually agrees with Tet and Lowji, but guys, the barrier's breaking and Yihdra is suffering so hard. I didn't include this in the script, but yeah, that girl was so tired that if you noticed it, she's actually breaking down with the barrier mentally, and after the barrier breaks, she actually throws up, which is in the manga too. Still, Lowji decides he won't just look at Red while Red's able to divert the explosion so it doesn't hurt him, which is a nice touch to show that Red is taking more consideration and feedback. It's subtle, but you notice it in both the anime and the manga. Together, they beat up the golems in a way more animated fight compared to the manga, beating and covering each other's blind spots and even doing a combination attack on Loulugart. I love that spin. Honestly feels like something out of either Beast Morphers or Kamen Rider, but I'll let you guys decide which series that reminds you of. Ultimate, well, not more ultimate, but unfortunately, remember what I said last episode's review about how the Mana Seeds were more dangerous than something like the Akumatizations in Miraculous Ladybug? Lug gets assimilated by his power as it turns into a giant meteor about to frickin' fall on the town with his mutated face on it. Yeah, if they don't do something ending in chapter 5, 3/4 of the way, there is not going to be a high note for anyone. And that's how the episode ends so far. Quick interjection. I forgot to talk about the opening being played for the fight instead of the opening of the episode. And yeah, I think that was a good choice. You know, theme music power up to show that the heroes have actually worked together. And it works pretty well with the fight for how short it is. So in terms of an adaptation, there's really not that much to complain about. Again, I think you could debate about whether or not certain shots from the manga could have been recreated more perfectly, or if they're fine in the way that they were presented, but that's more on a case-by-case basis. Either way, the episode wants you to at least understand where Lowji's coming from, while using Tetlina as the emotional core. And I think they pulled it off pretty well. You get glimpses of her backstory and the fact that she is genuine about wanting to help, while still having some mysteries that either the next episode or the future can go into more detail with. I also appreciate how the anime made an effort to show that while Lug is dangerous, he's too over-reliant on his power. Plus, it also makes sense why he would become a giant meteor. He wanted control over the land, and when you can't control the power anymore, now he's become a force of nature that will decide the fate of the town if no one else tries to stop him. But if you watched the whole video and made it this far, comments, Red Mage, and Blue Sword. With that out of the way, thank you all for watching, and BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, signing off.